And good morning, and welcome to Touch Base Daily, and welcome to our Focus Friday. What's going on, y'all? How are you doing on this Friday? Are you guys feeling better? Are you feeling better? Each day, I know I'm going to feel better. It's Focus Friday. So we focus on some accounts. I want to make sure. So this is how we do this. If you have something that you love in social media and you want to share it, and we'll be able to put that on the screen, and we can all glean together with it. So good morning, good morning. I am tired. I had a photo shoot. Let me get my hat right. I had a photo shoot last night, and then I had to do some editing. But it was a great event last night. I had a great time with the Brooklyn Conservatory of Music in their house party 2024 here in Park Slope, Brooklyn, in New York. It was absolutely amazing. Lots of great music. Oh man, I got a lot of great footage. I can't wait to get to them. And so has some deadlines. So we have a turnaround deadline for today at 3 o'clock. So I'm gonna definitely get out of here. Oh, Omar. Oh, well, let me say hello to folks. Let me just say hello, folks. First of all, Aya's in the building. Yay! What's going on, Aya? She says, "Thank God it's Friday." Grand Rising at Ron, Hannah, Rashawn, Derek, and everyone at Touch Base Daily. And Hannah's in the building. Grand Rising Ron. Hey, Touch Base Daily family. And we got Mr. Bryce. Mr. Brian Young is in the building. Good morning. Good morning, y'all. Good morning, folks. And I see Miss G. Hey, Miss G. Good morning. And now we're at Mr. Omar. Omar says, Ramos, he says, hey, finally back on YouTube. I knew it had to be something that was on your side, sir, because we would never ban you from YouTube. We would never ban you from our community. And Mr. D Tuggles in the building. And Kelly A is in the building. Good morning, everyone. She says, and the Girls Club Inc. is in the building. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. And so, whew, can I tell you, I'm just exhausted. I'm exhausted mentally, and I am. Me. I'm a political junkie, but I've been really restrictive of how much politics I've been taking in, and because you got now all of these correspondents, all of these Monday quarterbacking, replay mindsets, everyone has something to say why the Democrats lost, the Democrats did this wrong, the Democrats did that wrong. But all of that stuff. But it still doesn't come into the fact, or I should say, people are not talking about the other reality, is that the country is morally bankrupt. I mean, when a country says, you know what, we're gonna put a felon in charge, and we're gonna follow that felon, and we're gonna love that felon, and all the other stuff that he's done, the bigotry, the racism, all the list. You guys know, we know here in this community, and that's what we're not gonna be long. We're not gonna belabor it, but it's just driving me crazy. I didn't say that driving me crazy. Driving me crazy would be too far. But it was just irritating me. It was irritating me this morning when I saw all of those, I looked at my Morning Joe. Morning Joe was pissing me off. I was irritated by Morning Joe. And everyone is pointing fingers. Everyone's blaming the blame game. And yes, Democrats did some things wrong. We all know that. We know that some things that they should be doing, like reaching out to minority communities or people of color communities early on, all year round. All year round. Don't come to my and a lot of people of color felt like, don't come to my door when it's just election time. Okay, I get that. But the same could be said about the other side. And all the stuff that they were talking about all the policies and this and that, yada, 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 is of avail. I mean, think about it. No policies on the Republican side. None. Only a couple of angry people saying they want people out of the country, they don't want people here, they want their, you know. And Brian Derek says, I can't even watch the news. and then Brian says, I told y'all yesterday, Morning Joe on my my sugar honey iced tea list. I agree. I'm like, I say, Joe, now you know better. But again, people just always want to get on the winning team, even though they know that they were saying something differently before. Everybody was in on the Democrats. Everybody was still with them. And now the Democrats lost. Oh, you know what? They did this wrong. They did that wrong. Yada, yada, yada. Let me send this invitation to some of y'all. And let me see here. Let me see. Maybe Gwendolyn wants to come on. She might want to. I'm just sending the invitation in case you do. There we go. And let's see, Brian. So let's see here. And I also need to change the QR code. Okay, so I'm gonna send that out for you guys. And but yeah, it's just I mean, I was looking at it and I said, this is ridiculous. These people are ridiculous. But again, it is who people are. I mean, think about it. How could you vote for someone that is just against your moral compass? And I'm sorry. Black people didn't feel that way. Black people didn't feel, most Hispanics didn't feel like, oh, you know what? The Democrat Party was so bad to us. No. And then you have also, it's not a fair game. We know that the media game is different. We know we got all of these crazy podcasts of white supremacy and white folks and grievances and hate what's going on. We know that we got a Fox machine that speaks all day long for Trump. We know that these people are being misinformed, but too lazy to learn more, because that's typical America. And we do know that reality of that 10 other countries went autocratic. 10 other countries pick autocratic leaders around the world. So let's not act like, oh, the Democrats made so many. It was the Democrats. They were so. Yes, again, there's blame to go around if you want to blame someone. But this is, if you check history, this is the same exact thing that happened right after the 1918 pandemic. The same thing that happened after the people were in grievance, the people went against their wishes of what they needed. I should say this is what they needed. And then they eventually brought in a Hitler. It's the same thing. People were discontent with their governments, upset. We are all, as a country, traumatized from those years. The pandemic has done a job on most of us. Anyway, I see Gwendolyn's in the building.
What's morning,
Gene? It's good to have you by my side.
Well, I don't have to ask you how goes it, because you've already said how it's going for you.
How goes it with you, my dear work wife?
Well, clearly all of a sudden it wants to like zoom in on everything else but my eyeballs.
Oh, you got a lot going on behind you.
This is like my resale license, so I don't know why it wants to go there. It's not an eyeball. Like
it thinks it's an eyeball.
Oops, I did it again. My bad. Yeah. Let me stop fooling around. It's not the horse. I haven't removed the horse yet, but I might remove the horse at some point. You know what we talked about yesterday, Ron? So I'll share it again because you and I had this conversation, and I'm like you. I don't have a space for anyone with their softball approach as to what happens. We know what happened. People feel, I shouldn't say feel, people are cautious on what they're going to say because they're not going to cancel themselves out. So it's like I was telling you, you don't need a propaganda machine to tell you to not vote for VP Harris because you're going against the programming you've had since you were born. And it's like I mentioned to you yesterday, I am right-handed, but I was having some issues in my hand from doing a lot of content creation and writing, what have you. So I thought I'll use my left hand. It was the hardest thing to learn or attempt to use my left hand. So now you're asking people who have been told for a very long time that they are above and that there is no way that a woman could ever lead a country, despite the fact that many women have led from behind their spouse or what have you. And you also add to that, you know, Black people are not highly educated, and God forbid a Black woman. What? Like, are you serious? You're asking people to give up all of these lies that they've been told and go against what they know by nature. That's asking for a lot. That's human nature. It's human nature. Like you had another woman who is going up against centuries of misogyny and racism, sexism, bigotry. You ain't even got to talk about policy. The same way that people were like, well, they're going to vote for her because she's Black. Okay, so we take it down to that lowest denominator. Forget the fact that I want bodily autonomy. Like, oh my God, who would ever want that? But the same way that you say people vote for her because she's Black is the same way that I can say you voted for her or did not vote for her, pardon me, because she's not what you are. It goes both ways, that she's not a man, that she is this. Like, all these things come into play. We can do the nice thing, and say, well, it's the messaging. Ain't nobody got time for that. There's going to be a certain point in this world where we have to start calling a spade a spade. Now, everybody doesn't want to do it.
That's right.
As I was telling you, I don't know how I kept my job for 25 years. I have no idea, because I used to say some stuff. I had my neck chopped off so many times. I was like, I'll grow a new one. Who cares? Many a time. Ron was like, you're still working? Yeah, man. Can you believe it? I have never had the capacity to, I'm going to use the word play the game. Yeah. Right? I'm going to use that. I will tell you now that I am no longer at this business, and personally, they are on their last leg. I don't really care. So
exactly, they are on their last leg.
I would watch people do stuff. I watched people be given jobs because they were friends of, right? I watch people be given grace in certain areas because they felt bad for somebody. And I will tell you that when it got to the point where I felt like I'm the hiring manager and my voice has no play, no impact, I was like, screw it. Two can play this game. So I brought in some people too. I said, hey, if you bring in people, I'm bringing in people too. Right? So I've never had the capacity to act as if I don't see what's happening. I'm Gen X. I don't understand being canceled. Cancel me. I cancel you too, bitch. Like, it works both ways. Who cares? So I don't have the whole deal of, well, you're going to lose something. What I'm not going to lose is what I stand for and my soul. I'm never giving that up. I'm not giving up what I believe in and what I stand for ever for $1. Like, are you not even like $10, maybe like 5 million? No, not even 5 million. Like, you got to think, like, we have to look at ourselves and say, who are we really? Like, look in the mirror and recognize who you are. It's not the easiest thing to do. We don't live in that kind of world where we are self-aware and emotionally intelligent. We like to play games. We like to pretend like we don't know. We don't know what happened. We do know what happened. We know these are women. Women have been fighting for stuff for years, and we are still fighting, and we will continue to fight. So I'm like Detail go, I'm not watching news, but I don't watch the news a lot anyway. So there it is.
There it is. And
long sigh.
But I just sat there and I was listening to, all the, and I just said, like, I usually do that early in the morning. Like that yesterday, I was obviously working. So I worked from once I left you guys, I had to get all my memory cards ready, all my flashes ready. And also, I'm so upset because yesterday I broke one of my flashes, which cost $1,000. And I am done. I was so
Why do you break a
upset.
flash? What did
It
you drop it?
fell. The camera fell.
The camera doesn't fall. It doesn't have legs, Ron.
And no, I put the camera on the table, and the table it slid right off the table. And I said, "Oh, there's fabric on the table. It's not going to slide." It slid right on off and right down to the ground and fell right on the flash and broke it in half.
Was the table crooked? Was it missing a
It must
leg?
have been, it's nighttime, so I couldn't tell that there was a
Oh, man.
incline.
Oh, I'm sorry. I feel bad for you. I know you cried inside.
Man, I was so devastated last
Oh.
night. I was like, shoot. Luckily, I had another flash, but I was like, holy moly, $1,000 gone just like that. Anyway, I gotta buy another one, so I gotta get more projects. Anyone want to contribute? They can contribute, but I definitely gotta do more work. I got a project just on tomorrow, and I was like, holy moly. Luckily I'm only gonna be using one flash, but then I like to have a backup flash, and now I don't have a backup flash.
Right?
So I might just have to break the bank and what's left of the bank and buy one today. And so that way I'll have one I gotta have, you gotta have a backup.
Yeah,
when your clients are paying you thousands of dollars or a couple of $1,000s to photograph their event, you can't just say, oh, you know what, my flash is gone, I can't photograph.
No,
so
you gotta make it work.
Gotta make it work. So yesterday's work was for free.
There's always the cost of doing business.
The cost of doing business. And I was like, well, I said, God, I said, well, look what we have here. But anyway, but back to this what's going on. But so yesterday I was busy at work. I mean, and I did not my project did not end till like 11 o'clock last night. So when I got home, I definitely did no politics. All I did was turn on my Apple TV and looked at one of my shows that I'm looking at this thing called apocalyptic something, and it's with talking about all the different ancient cultures. And so so I've been following that on my sorry, it wasn't Apple, it was Netflix. And I was like, this is, but I was tired, and I was like, okay. And then I was like, okay, so I'm take a shower and go to bed. And so this morning I started looking at the news reports and looking at all the commentators and everybody. The New York Times has their article, Axios has their Politico has their thing. And I'm like, all these people got reasons why Kamala lost the election. And no one is saying the right one.
They're not going to.
She's a Black Asian woman. Mm-hmm. And you had all of and you have to give it to, again, like I said, the Republican Party. I don't even call. I always say, don't call them the Republican Party. The mega people, Trump and his people, they went after the young and the old and the middle white men. Now they scraped in with that some of the Spanish men, some of the I should say Latino men, some of the Black men. But it wasn't when people talk about, oh, so many Black people voted for. Yes, there was a 5% difference in all of the states.
Yeah,
5% of all the states, pretty much. Oh, I saw in California 9. I think it was 9% flipped towards Trump. Okay, we get it. 9%. But you're not talking about 95%. Mm-mm. You're not talking about 80%. You're not even talking about 70%. You're only talking about 5, 10, 4, 9, 3 that switched over. And when you look at all the races, And again, when Biden won, he won because there were 15 million more people that voted. 15 million people did not vote. But when you think about it, those 15 million people just went back to being who they were. Because before Biden, those 15 million people were not voting.
Yeah.
Those 15 million people came out only because we were in a pandemic. They were scared. They didn't know what their futures hold. And they came out because they felt like their lives were in danger. And also, we were in COVID and we were on some like lockdowns, and they had nothing better to do. Everyone was home to work. Everyone had free time.
I mean, okay,
The
so
15 million people. And you look at, because you look at the votes before Biden's run in the last presidential election, voter turnout was less. The peak of all voting, the peak of turnout was definitely with Biden against Trump. And that was because of the pandemic.
Yeah. It was, yeah, well, you can say the pandemic. I mean, it was an awful 4 years. Is there voter apathy? Yes.
Yes,
So
it's always been.
But like if I had to list the things, we're gonna put human nature at the top. I'm not going to ignore that. Like, I'm just not. And then we can talk about voter apathy, and then you could go all the way down. But you're not telling me that women said, I don't want bodily autonomy because of this, right? Or that the price of eggs means more to me than, it's like, no, I mean, human nature will always show up at the end of the day. People say stuff because it's a nice to say in public, right? I mean, it's a mask. It's a mask. What is that quote from James Baldwin's about masks? What is that quote? I don't know why. I don't know why I asked you if you knew the quote.
I don't have it up on my screen. And if
James Baldwin has a quote about mask.
Yes.
And I used to have it in, it was printed on this.
While you're looking, I'm going to share some of the quotes. Mimi says, people say what they want, but the numbers are suspect. I feel in my spirit some manipulation happened. Well, a lot of manipulation happened. Did you know that they were betting? They put what they call a betting, what do you call it? When you gambling circle on betting on the presidency, and they put that out for men, white men and men around the country. So people were not only investing in their vote for Trump because of policy, but they were also voting because they wanted to win their bets. There's a whole lot of stuff that was going on behind the scenes.
Like I said, human nature. Ain't nobody worry about policy.
Yeah, no one cares about it. Okay. No one cares.
I found it. You want to hear it?
Hold on a second. Girls Club says MAGA has had the strategy to play before Kamala entered the race. Just 4 months ago, Trump was in the lead because Biden was too old. And get that, Biden was too old, but Trump was only 2 years younger. And so it wasn't about old. It's just who they. And again, Biden was too old because they didn't want Kamala to take the reins if something was to happen to Biden. So that's what that was about.
Yeah.
So it wasn't about Biden's age, meaning he can't run the country. Is if he doesn't make it, we're going to have our first woman Black president.
Yep, it was still the same thing.
The same thing. Derek says, I've been let go of positions 3 months for no reason, but I know at the core it was because of color, and I believe in a higher power. I never made it known, but they were atheists. Yeah. Omar tells me to get some Godox. I think, you know what, me, because they're not as expensive. I probably can get 2 Godox for the price of one Pro Photo. And that will have to be my trick for out being on the streets. I'll have to look into that, Omar, today. Thank you, brother. And that was just a business thought. Business expenses on tax returns. Okay, go ahead, Gwen. Go, you got it.
Okay, so here's the quote. The quote is, "Love takes off the mask that we fear we cannot live without, and know we cannot live within."
Mm-hmm.
Right? So here's how I've always seen it, is that when you accept who you are, right? And people talk about love trumps hate, because you have two choices. You can either say yes to what brings you joy, or you can say no to what you're afraid of.
Yes.
Check it. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of people operate in fear. They put
Most
on this
people
mask.
do. Most.
They put on, well, okay, so you can definitely say most. You can definitely say most, right? We'll say most. We don't have to have the numbers and everything. But when you're looking at the mask, when people go into different spaces, they are wearing a mask. They're not using a filter, because there is a difference between me checking what I'm going to say out loud versus me putting on this whole entire mask and becoming a whole different person depending on where I am. The way I've always viewed it as, if you are really about humans and others and loving everybody, then you let go of all that other stuff, right? Like, you let that go. You put yourself in places of being vulnerable, learning about others, exposing yourself to something that's different, not because you're fearful, because you want to enjoy and truly bring in all of what the human species has to offer. That's how I've always seen it. So I don't operate in fear. I don't have that. I put myself out there all the time, right? Whether it goes my way or it doesn't matter to me. These are just life experiences. But a good chunk of people operate in the matter of fear, and they walk around with these masks. I'm not going to really tell you who they are. Now, people have exposed themselves this political season. And yes, there will be some grace, but you will not find safe harbor in my presence ever. I will show you grace and mercy. I will love you just the same way that you're supposed to, but you will not find safe harbor here. You will not, because if you bring it up, we're going to have a conversation and you're going to feel uncomfortable. Trust that.
Over in Instagram, D Savage says, people say what they think you want to hear. And that's a lot in relationships. Look, people in marriages and relationships, and they only do what they think their partner thinks they want them to do versus living their full life and being who they are.
Well, my husband married me, so he clearly knew something. He was like, I guess I'm going to sign off on this foolishness. I'm signing off.
Mr. Jack, he knew what he was getting into.
He was like, oh my goodness. Yes. I remember I thought, like, that first time he tried to like suggest that I should wear something. I was like, bro, I know we are not having that conversation. He's like, well, my wife wouldn't be wearing it. I don't know who you thought you married.
When like, you told me that, I was like, you were not having it.
Yeah.
You were not having it. You were like, sorry. And I see Fifi's in the building also. So I'm going to bring, at some point, bring Brian and Fifi. I'm going to send an invitation out to you as well, if you want to pop on. Because let me see here. Then we can have a panel discussion together. And I still haven't done my way call, right? I still have not put the QR code in. I got so excited with,
there's one on this. Is that the one on the screen not right?
It's not right. No, that's not the right one. Let me just get that one in here. I gotta do the link tree. Hold on a second. But as you were saying, a lot of couples, they don't say exactly what's on their mind with their spouses all the time.
Yes. Yeah. People rarely have true blue conversations. And we talked about that. Like, Americans, I'll say Americans, I don't know about anybody else, but we don't teach our children how to have a conversation. We said it. People are taught to just respond. They are not taught to listen. And listening is not just the words coming out of your mouth. It is the word choice. It is body language. It's tone. It's like all of that is part of listening. So when people talk to me, I am reading all of what they're saying. And I do listen to word choice because it makes a huge difference in what you're trying to say. Well, I meant to say, but you said this. So there's no meant to say. what you said is what you wanted to say.
Exactly.
And that's fine. Because
Yeah.
when I'm about to say to you, yeah, I meant to say it. I'm not
And, and,
I'm
and,
not
and,
mixing my
and like
words.
we and like we talk about all the time, people are not taught to conversation. Just because I disagree with you doesn't mean I hate you or don't like you, or but people don't know how to have conversations, and conversations not always people. What's the other statement? People go into conversations thinking they have to win.
Yes.
And it's not a win. You're not
No.
trying to win. You're trying to share your point of view and learn the other person's point of view. And
Yes.
then you walk away more educated. Gwyneth and I talk about a lot of stuff, and we don't agree on a lot of things, but
Yeah.
we agree on a lot of stuff also. I
We have our
learn.
moments.
And
We have our moments.
and I'll go like this, a little resistance. And
Ron will say something. I'm like, bruh, like you about to cross that line over here. You're about to cross it. And it gets a little animated, as they say, spirited. I love how to say this is a spirited debate. Ain't no spirited debates, okay? This
yeah,
is not.
and
I
you
am heated.
learn. We learn from each other. I mean, but that's the whole point of being here in a community, is that when you guys are engaged in conversation, I always want to encourage you guys, like I say now, the barcode is correct. If you want to pop one, you're more than welcome to pop one, especially the folks that are part of this community, is that we learn from each other. We don't have to agree. We can agree to disagree. There's some area, no two people agree on everything.
Yes.
Impossible.
Yes.
But we all can learn from each other.
Well,
And
that's why
what's
diversity
missing in our
matters.
country right now is the ability to learn from each other. I mean, we'll talk about this in a little bit, but we'll talk about it now. I don't know if you guys heard about that. I didn't bring up the videotape. We'll talk about it once we start having a conversation with the group. But it did go out with that. There was some text messages that went out to Black people around the country, telling them that this Friday or this weekend or whatever was their day to be picked up and go to be cotton pickers and all the other stuff, and they were going to round them up. And a lot of people were devastated because they didn't know where this text came from, and it was
Devastated?
it happened
Really?
yesterday.
Is that what the reporting said? Devastated
Yes,
versus it being annoyed.
No, it was a text that went out on Tuesday night, and not Tuesday, after Trump's announcement of the winning of Trump yesterday. I think what day is it? Today's Friday, so Wednesday. So Wednesday, this text went out to some folks around the country, and yeah. So I mean, I don't know if you guys heard about it. Did anyone in the area hear about it?
Middle schoolers and high schoolers.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I know because NAACP was talking about it this morning on Morning Joe, and it said middle schoolers and high schoolers in my county received those text messages. Now the NAACP is on it. Yes. And I mean, there were some parents that they were just so upset because their children got these texts, and young people, teenagers, got this text. And so, yeah, I mean, and then it was something else that happened yesterday. It was something about the KKK. I forgot what it was, but these people now are empowered. If you thought they were empowered during the last Trump years, they are going to be more empowered now. And there is a lot of alarm going out around the country. There was an FBI bulletin that went out for FBI bulletin that went out that they tracked a KKK memo saying that there were going to be assaults, some terrorist acts on Black people in the South. I think it was in Georgia. So in the Atlanta area, my brain is coming back to me. So these people remember when Trump took office before, hate crime went up 1,000+%. it's only going to get worse because these people feel empowered. Like I said, yesterday was the first time in my years living in Brooklyn, and I saw 2 Trump cars, 2 banners flying in the way. They feel there's definitely going to be an increase in hate crimes and hate
But I
rhetoric.
mean, I'm processing this at the moment. So
I know you're
work with me
processing.
here. I'm processing.
Mm-hmm.
I understand. I'm stuck on the devastation because here's how some of this works in my head, and please work with me. We know we have keyboard warriors, people who do a lot of stuff
Yes.
anonymously, right? But if you give those actions safe harbor, and I say safe harbor, then people are more emboldened. We have seen during those last 4 years when people would go into gas stations and say
Mm-hmm.
stuff, they met people who were clearing it's not going to go down, because you only feel that brazen when you believe no one's going to check you. Now, I'm gonna say this, and please God work with me. There was
Mm-hmm.
a run
Mm-hmm.
on ammunition. You guys remember that back in 2020?
Mm-hmm.
There was a run on ammunition. Now, my dear friend in a certain state has an arsenal. I would be a liar if I said I didn't have an arsenal in our home. I'd be a liar, right?
Mm.
Now, I'm not saying that it's going to get to that level, but we are not in the same space that we were years ago, where people felt as if they couldn't. I don't know what the result will be, but if you have more people who don't allow those to behave in this manner, you can cut some of it down. Because if you think that I'm just going to let you come in here and burn down my house and we're not going to have anything happen, then that's, you know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
you tend to do more things when you feel as if you're not going to get checked. I know what he has talked about in terms of his policies, in terms of policemen, and I know people feel really bold in leaving those sheets in the closet. I get it. It's when people try it. Now, I'm not a violent person, but I would be a liar if I said I don't fight first and then run later.
Mm.
So if I was to get that text message, and I haven't heard anything in my family, I don't think devastated is the word I would use. I would use annoyed. I would be angered. I would be, it's about to be on and popping. That's where I would come from. I wouldn't have a matter like that. Devastation is what, but is it that someone has now shown my child what the world has always been? Is that the deal? Is it traumatizing? Yes. But I'm not understanding devastated because we know where we are. We have always known where we are. There is no Santa Claus. There is no Easter Bunny. And as much as I love this country, I have every right to judge her. We are not as progressive as we would love for it to be. We have to recognize where we are and stop living in the clouds. Like, recognize that. So I don't understand the devastated part. That's my only thing.
Yeah, I mean, people were devastated. I mean, they were angry, they were upset. This one mother, she was in tears, she was devastated. I mean, there are people that are going to react some kind of way because, that text went out. I mean, it is something that was quite triggering for a lot of people.
So can you show Charlene's message? Because, like, it's. I have to say it has to be a place where, and yes, we want to protect our kids from all of the ills of this world. I get that. But my daddy, my mama also made it very clear what world we were living in. Like, we weren't.
You want this one?
Yes. No. She has another one about the text messages.
Okay, there.
Oh, I thought you was going to read it.
Oh, these text messages were received by kids who are not informed about what's going on in the real world. Yeah. So I mean this is what's happening.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to cue that up, but and I couldn't. Let me see what Derek sent us. Hold on a second. Derek sent us something. Hold on. And I'm gonna bring Brian on. And there we go. Mr. B is in the building. How you doing, Mr. B? While I'm loading this up. How are you, sir, today?
About the same level of pistivity that I was yesterday.
You haven't healed a little bit?
No, sorry, man. There's no fucking healing with me. I guess I'm more on Gwendolyn's. I often tell people I tell my sons this. You see the Martin Luther King in me, keep messing around. There is a Malcolm X side of me. And that's it's been reversed in my younger life. I'm not the one right now where I'm all like, a lot of these cats is like, oh well, it's back to normal. Let's like jokey hot. This crap is dead ass serious.
Oh, it's very serious.
And I'm like, I'm so, not at you, but like in our, yeah, I'm not in a I'm not past Tuesday for several. Maybe I'm going through the stages.
No, you're going through the stages, and and some people,
I
you gotta respect the stages.
Let me just say that I said this. We had a family Zoom last night, like an emergency family Zoom, because we had some family members that put in the chat, like our family chat. My one cousin, I won't say his name, but not that you guys would know him, but just to protect him. And I was livid after all the time and effort I put in. This mofo didn't vote, and he's in Atlanta. And then the other cousin, the males, who, and I'll just say his last, because I think I've shared with y'all, I come from a diverse family. My one cousin, his last name is Gonzalez. So, and he's mixed. The brother don't speak a lick of Spanish because he's considered black in our family, and that, like, and he's like, well, why y'all crying? And I voted for, and I'm like, I'm looking at him, and my aunties was going on. It settled down. It was a mess last night until cooler heads prevailed. But my point in this is that this is.
But Brian, we all know, not to cut you off, but the thing is, 15 million people from the year before, from the previous election, decided to sit it out and say it wasn't important to them.
I've not seen any news. I've been getting my data. My one aunt, she's been a retired a year. She was the CEO of the National Urban League, the Knoxville chapter, and she's one that's been giving us a lot of info. She's friends with Kamala. They wanted her to run for governor of Tennessee a while back, because being the first black one. My aunt was like, no, I'm good. I know what it takes. My point, I see those numbers, and I don't know what anybody else. Those numbers look highly effing suspect to me. You mean to tell me that regardless of all these armchair quarterbacks, that you mean to tell me 15 million people decide the drop off? And yeah, I get it. We have to respect. We respect the elections and all that. But this is a game where one side is playing fair and one side isn't. Period.
Yeah.
And it's
we've always known that the Democrats come to the game they come to the fight with a knife, a little Swiss knife, and the Republicans come with guns. And that's been the case for the last 40 years.
The Democrats don't even come with a knife. The Democrats come with hope and, hey, I love you. And the Republicans, they come with a sniper on a building with a scope.
They come with it all. They come with it all.
And it's been like this since after listening to my elders last night. I know I'm regurgitating, but it's just a reminder. This is not new. And it's like the long game, the long con. My one aunt broke it down. She's 80, 80s. She broke it down last night when my grandparents, when they moved to their second or third house, because my grandparents were, interracial couple in the freaking segregated South, trying to raise 6 biracial kids. And my one aunt broke it down to the point, like, even back then in the 50s, she went to the point of when Eisenhower didn't like black folks. So this notion.
Coolidge didn't like black
Yeah,
folks. The KKK rose under Coolidge. So
you know,
this is American history.
yeah, it's just look at Roe v. Wade, and she brought that up. Like we've been lulled into and here speaking of James Baldwin, here's where what she sent me, and I will if you indulge me, and she quoted this last night, and I was like, I remember that because I read it in James Baldwin's book, the Fire Next Time, and she said, and she sent it to me, which whatever, she's a teacher, retired. She said, you were not expected to aspire to excellence. You were expected to make peace with mediocrity.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this has been a reminder that we aspired to excellence with Hillary Clinton, with Kamala Harris, but time and time again, the whiteness of this country,
and the misogynist and the bigotry.
Yeah, to me, you know how I when I've been outdoor knocking and talking and getting and persuading people, I would meet them where they were at. Like if they didn't know what democracy meant, like it's kind of ambiguous, then I say, okay, what's important to you? Well, the price of eggs, or such and such. Okay, I would tie that back around to democracy. But I bring that up with, to me, it's it comes back to white supremacy. That's the foundation on which all this other crap, the misogyny against women, the hatred against our LGBTQ plus. I had my cousin last night who's about to marry her lifelong girlfriend, broke down, and that gutted me because she's scared.
A lot of people are scared. A lot of people are scared.
Humanity, the whiteness, the white supremacy is the foundation on which all the other crap, and this is my opinion, on which all the other crap is built upon.
Exactly. Well, let me give Fifi a chance. Hey, Fifi, what's going on? How you doing? How's life 2 or 3 days after the election? How are you doing? Are you resting? Are you feeling better?
Her mic is off.
Your mic is off. Oh, we can't hear you.
Mic muted.
There we go. Is that better? Sorry, guys.
Yeah, now we hear you.
Okay. But yeah, we're getting it in. We're breathing. Grateful for another day.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first day was bad. I talked to you.
We all had it. That first day was rough.
Listen, I was just like, I worked for a couple hours and came home, laid down. I was talking to Ron, eating a pint of chocolate ice cream.
I was like, this is a good day for ice cream.
Look, I don't drink, I don't smoke. I was like, give me a pint of chocolate.
Yes. But that kind of week.
I will say this. Out of all of it, because we'll be analyzing this till the end of time.
Yes.
Right. But because it's very complicated, all the nuances about why people didn't show up and, how social media was used to manipulate so many people out of voting. And, we even had Dr. Umar pop up out of his hole and say, well, y'all wanted to vote for either one of them. They wasn't going to save you. And I was like, Black man, you're one of the reasons a whole lot of people didn't vote.
Yeah.
It's like, we have to, and the disconnect of our youth, the 30 to whatever, from the elders, from us, as their parents. My daughter's 34, and my youngest daughter's 28. The disconnect of the generations, you can throw in all sorts of stuff. You could throw in the fact that she was a woman, whatever. You can't throw in the fact that she was of color, because Barack proved that that's not the situation. Barack proved it twice.
Yeah, and he was a man. So
that's it.
I mean, is a man.
It is a man. Yeah. But at the end of the day, when you look at how tight it was as far as the popular vote, when you look at the fact that this woman started campaigning just a couple of months ago,
it was
actually
7 days.
It was actually incredible. It actually incredible. When you talk about hope, it gives you the hope that yes, this is going to happen within my lifetime. Before I leave this earth, it's going to happen if we're allowed to vote again. And the simple fact that she was, some of her campaign leaders made some poor choices, leaning so heavily on celebrities.
Yes. Well, a
Um,
lot. There was so again, like from all the pundits and people that were
right.
talking, there
Mhm.
was a lot of blame to go around in the campaign. They ran her
Well,
some people say they ran her like she was Hillary as a white woman. They didn't have her go into the black community like they ran her instead of being a black woman, they ran her like a white
well,
woman. There was all kinds of stuff. But go ahead. I'm
pundits
sorry.
aside, no, you're fine. You're fine. Pundits aside, just as a black woman living in the South and watching how this operates
Oh
around
yeah, because
here.
you see what's going on. You got some southern stuff going on your TVs.
Yeah, so it's just, it's the main thing. They did a fantastic job. The debate was fantastic. The problem is when you don't really engage the youth properly. Like when you're talking to us, you're talking to Gen X, we pretty much got our mind made up one way or the other. You might have to be able to give us a couple of facts, to sway us one way or the other. But the young people didn't have the information they needed. Just based on the amount of young people that got turned away at the polls because they weren't registered. They made up their mind at the last minute. Hey, this is important. I need to vote.
Or
The
also, I'm going to interject here. The same
mhm,
some of the young Gen Zers that
mhm.
saw the Trump tape of Grab Them by the P, and
Yep,
they didn't even know it existed.
they didn't even know.
They were totally blown away and said, "Oh, I can't
They
vote
didn't
for
even
him."
know because you're talking about algorithms as well. You're talking about young people that spend their social life on this,
Yeah,
and the
and it's where they
fact
get their
that
news
if
from.
if their algorithm is not giving them what their parents are watching, what their uncle or aunt is watching, they don't know about this stuff. They're not seeking out political stuff. I pick up people all the time, young folk. They'll spend I could take them 30 minutes somewhere. They'll spend the entire time speaking about what type of hair, the fashion, the typical things. But it's like the fact that, we know that Zuckerberg is a Trump fan. We know that Musk is a Trump fan. And TikTok has become. If I hear TikTok again, I'm going to lose it. I don't even have the app, but people from our age, especially the young people, are getting all of their news from there. And if their algorithm is not showing them facts, fact checking misinformation, they're absorbing misinformation at a rate we can't even keep up with anymore.
Well, yeah,
So, it's up to us when we know we're in high schools. It's a huge election. Why aren't there people, instead of phone banking and texting, why isn't there a group that's going into the high schools to talk to the children of voting age?
hmm
To say, this is when you register. These are the important dates. You don't have to tell them about parties if you don't want to. They need the basic information. They don't have it. Their
yeah. I
parents
mean
are,
that's the
their parents are
nature.
in
That's
their
the thing.
conversation bubbles. You see what I'm saying? Their parents are in their conversation bubbles. But the children, the young people that I saw that came with their parents, their parents or their uncle or their aunt, they were clearly 18 years old, prepared to be first time voters. They weren't registered
Yeah,
because mom, dad, they didn't even know when the registration deadline was. They thought
yeah.
because of early
So I'm
voting
going to
that they
interject.
could register the same day.
I'm going to interject and say again, it's about educating our public.
Yes.
We have to
Oh
educate
my God.
citizens. Most people don't know civics. Most people don't
This
know
is
the
the
basics.
idiocracy. This is
That's
the
the
idiocracy we live in. The dumbing down has been
it's
gradual.
been.
Like when you think about the type of music our young people absorb that doesn't speak about anything, like
I would
nothing, you
Well.
know,
Before we go
I'd
there,
say
I
broad.
mean, it speaks to what they are into. It just doesn't. It doesn't
no, I mean,
speak to.
that's true,
Yeah.
Ron, but you have to understand something. When you're looking at the way people have been brainwashed into all these, you remember when Barack left the White House the last time, his last speech was get out of your bubble. Just get out of your bubble. Just what Gwendolyn was saying. You have to be able to experience other people's reality. I talk to a lot of young people and they don't know simple things simply because mom and dad doesn't talk to them. I never heard that. It's not on their algorithm at all. And I'll tell them, follow this person, follow this person, follow that person. And they
Mhm.
go, oh, okay, bet, and they put that in their phone. But that a lot of that disconnect. We don't have as many big mamas. We don't have the aunties that are willing to talk to young people. We have people that want to look at the young people, shake their heads, talk junk about them, but are scared to approach them. I pick up people that say, I'm scared to talk to any. They might just cuss you out. You scared to get cussed out by a young person? Then you weren't raised right. You're supposed to gather them right on up with love and say, this is why this is important. I had a young woman say to me this morning, I went to meet my daughter, and she was a security guard. And she said, well, I guess we can just hope that, he'll do the right thing. And so I said, young lady, she's a young black woman. And I said, baby, I said, we have to hope that we can look after each other as a community. But we don't need to hope for that. She was like, well, maybe Biden should have run.
Hope is
I
not
said,
a plan.
It's not
yes.
a strategy.
It's not a
Listen,
strategy.
I said, sweetheart, I said, as a community, just as a community, as a country, we're tired of old white men telling us what to do.
May I add something?
Yeah.
Just because, okay, so I'm going to say clearly we're not tired. Okay. And here's why I say this. Here's why I say
as a black woman, yes, I am.
Right? Clearly, we're not tired. Now, if I just talk about
as a country,
the black community, some of what you mentioned, that's where I believe as a community we have failed ourselves. We got comfortable. We got comfortable. We got a little bit of comfort, a little bit of fake power, a little bit of money. And we decided, like Ice Cube and some others, we don't have to vote and we don't have to participate. We let go of what made us strong, our village. We let go of our village. We decided to buy into the idea of being in a silo and it's me against the world. When the fact of the matter is, it has always been us against the world. We let that go. Music, fashion, social media will never replace human connection.
Human connection.
To take on someone else's idea of how to parent. Now, I'm not saying that people were not abused. I'm not saying that.
No,
I'm not saying that because I saw some people that I knew who were abused. But you can't tell me that my mama and my daddy doing what they did with the tools they had was like abuse. Not everybody has like abusive parents from the 70s. Cut that shit out. Cut it out. There were people who loved us. Now, I'm not saying that picking your switch was the best idea. However, right, there are other ways that we can do it. Like when you know better, you do better. So yes, I don't scream at my niece and nephews. I talk to them, but I don't allow them to get out of pocket. And I do say allow. You're not going to talk to me like that. Like we're not doing that. But we don't talk anymore.
We know.
We replaced.
You have to establish that boundary. That's right, Gwendolyn. That's right.
We replaced our parenting, spending time with our kids with technology. That was their idea. That was never us. But we decided to assimilate and take on someone else's idea of how to raise our kids and how to be a village and how to be a community. We need to get back to who we have always been. We had a hog mog and pork rinds and cornbread and beans and rice, and we were fine.
And we were fine.
So now, now what do you? I mean, now let me see what time. Okay, we good. What do you guys? I mean, obviously, it's going to take some time to recover, and Democrats will have to restructure and all other stuff that needs to go on there. And we, as Black community and people of color, it's like the woman that talks about whiteness. She was on Roland last night. And she was so good. She says, there are no white people and there are no Black people. We are all shades of brown. And until we all recognize that we are shades of brown, but there's going to be a whole lot of conversations over the next couple of weeks. You probably will do better if you probably not listen to media as much as you would normally do, because there's everyone's trying to get their algorithms up. Everyone's trying to get people to their village, their people, their tribe. And there's going to be so much I don't say crazy information, but there's going to be a lot of voices.
Yeah, crazy.
A lot of voices. And some of it's going to be crazy. Some of it's going to be truthful. Some of it's going to be impactful. Some of it's going to be thoughtful. And some is just going to be lies. And some are going to be detrimental to us as a society, but we will do ourselves a favor to kind of like step back a little bit and not get so, like I think most of us are here are not draining ourselves with the media. Like, like I said, I just popped on this morning. Because again, there's so much junk out there and everybody got something to say.
Yeah.
Except that also the thing that's in front of their face. This was a Black woman, Asian woman going uphill against lies, and lies have been repeated for 4 years, against all the machine, against the algorithms, against all of these things. And she only could do it in 107 days. I mean,
listen, that was an incredible
show. It was an incredible run.
It was incredible. But I'm gonna tell you something. Biden probably would have lost too, Ron. What people underestimate, what people underestimate, especially these. Listen, the white population, especially here in the South, because there's a lot of a lot of country white folks in New York, New Jersey. I've seen them, but their culture. We always, as Black people, we always talk about the culture. What people don't get is their culture. In their minds, their culture is at stake. Their culture, it's not just about America.
It's not about
It's
America.
about the fact that, that's why they call us the cool kids and stuff. It's the fact that they feel like they're being left behind culturally. And some of their kids are more savvy to a futuristic America than they are. And they want to bring them back because a big part of their culture is tradition, whether it's working for them or not, whether it's in their interest or not. But if you already have land, I know several broke working class dudes who still have 100 acres of family land that they could pick from if they want to. So it's a different mentality. Their poverty is different from our poverty or anybody else of color that might be. They still got land. They might have a truck that their uncle gave them. They might have a well, free water, but they might not have enough money to do certain things, but they have wealth. In their mind, in their mind, that dude that's driving a better car or wearing the better clothes or the metropolitanness of it all. Because Charlotte is what people don't understand is Charlotte is very country. And then somebody decided we're going to turn it into an international city. When you go to certain parts of Charlotte, you've got people with houses in 2-3 acres, 4-5 acres, and their house is sitting there and they got 3 trucks and a car. I mean, and it just, the metropolitanness of it is starting to encroach on that because now they're building way more apartments and all of that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And as the election was going on, there's a place that's a gun range. And I'll end it with this. There's a place that's a gun range. It's called Blackstone, I think it is. September, and some of our, when I tell you, you could barely get down the street to go to the airport because the line was so long. This was even, matter of fact, this was going on before she was even announced. The line was so long, them getting ready. They're in there purchasing, they're in there gun rate. We had so many gun shows down the street here from where I'm sitting. Down the street from where I'm sitting.
I'm going to cut everybody off because I'm going to have to get off this line because I got to get to work.
I'm sorry.
No. This was good. I mean, I love when we have these conversations and we get to share our points of view and share our thoughts because again, I always learn something when people are sharing, when we are talking and sharing what's in our minds. I know that so many people have talked in the chat. And I just want to go through some of these really quick. Mimi says, yes, Fifi, my family is in Mooresville, North Carolina, up the hill. I mean, up. They are deep in the country. Kimmy says, yes, generation wealth. Generation wealth plays a big part in how you see the world. Equity, having what you have. See here, I see in the chat here. And Gwendolyn, you have one last thought. I saw you had something to say, and then I'm going to just close out. You're on mute.
You muted, sis.
Because sometimes I don't want to. My thought is this: it has always been hunting season for us, so just stay woke.
Stay woke.
That has never ended for us. It has never.
Never.
So you can get your, pie in the sky. You can get out the clouds. It has always been hunting season, right? Now I'm not saying go out there and get strapped, but do what you gotta do. You know what I'm saying? Because
but the thing is, again, and so just to keep an awareness of what's going on. So guys, keep your ears open to that FBI bulletin that came out for Georgia. If you're in the Georgia area, with the KKK bulletin warning about some sinister stuff that may be happening, and
check your children's phones, because they're sending out texts inviting them to pick cotton in the fields and stuff.
Yeah, so you may want to look at what your kids are taking in. If they have smartphones and they're they're getting those text messages, you may want to monitor what your children are reading. And again, we know just because these folks won their election, that it doesn't just end there. These people are going to continue to assault, hurt, because that's what this movement is all about. And I want to close on this one last thought. Remember, if you haven't seen, there's a what's his name? The guy that got arrested for the January 6th. He was on the line yesterday telling women, ha ha ha, you're not gonna ever be anything. We are here, we're men, yada yada. And it was nasty, it was horrible. If you have not, here's two things you may want to look at. And if I could give you some focus on the Focus Friday, is check yesterday's Don Lemon's report from 5 o'clock. Really worth looking at. And also the morning one was excellent. And then also rolling from yesterday, and then also the attorney that I talk about all the time. But anyway, I'll put them all inside the description so that way you'll have the links and look at what's going on. We're grieving. People have their different stages, but at the end of the day, we are going to continue to fight. We cannot give up. And so we will continue to fight in whatever capacity we can. Okay, guys, I'm going to let you guys go, and I'm just going to say goodbye a little bit. But hey, bye, Gwendolyn, and goodbye, Mr. Brian. Thank you for coming on, and Fifi, thank you. And guys, make sure that also make sure you like, subscribe, and do all that, and make sure that you connect with your friends and families. And again, check up on people, because it's so important that you check up on folks. I've been loving that people have been reaching out to me and just checking up on me. I've been checking up on others. It is important. A lot of people are struggling right now. A lot of people are hurting. A lot of people feel horrible about what happened in the election. So let's try to let's be the ones that comfort the comfortless, right? Let's be the ones that be a light in the midst of darkness. And let's really support one another as we continue to move forward as a community, as in people of color, moving forward as a nation. Because again, 68 million people still voted for Kamala. So yeah, we just got a little outnumbered. We got outnumbered. So it's not the end of the world. We will win. We will win. Sometimes you get setbacks, so you can take one step back, so you can go 2 steps forward. And I see Rosemary sending her hugs. He says, Rosemary says, love you all. Yes, let's send some love everyone's way. Okay, I got to get to work. I got to get some work into my clients. Anyway, and I will talk to you on Monday. So guys, have a great weekend. Do something positive. Get out in the fresh air. Do something special. Love ya.